Step into the world of success with your brand amplified, the ultimate podcast designed to unravel the intricacies of thriving businesses. I'm your host, Annika Jackson, and I'm on a mission to uncover the stories, strategies, and secrets that have propelled entrepreneurs and business leaders to success. I have a very interesting guest on today. Matt Rolnick is the Senior VP of Partnerships and Events for Real American Beer. You are an influencer. You have been a best-selling author. You have an Udemy course with over 135,000 students. And that's just the tip of the iceberg. So thank you for being here. And I'm really excited to dive into all of your interests and how all of these things came about and how it brought you to the world of beer and Hulk Hogan.
Well, thanks, Anika. Excited to be talking to you and excited to be talking about all this. So fire away. I love talking and I love partnerships, and I'm really enjoying my new role at Real American Beer and working with Hulk Hogan.
Yeah, I can imagine that it's a really fun environment. So you have had a variety of careers, real estate, business development, events, all of these different things that have led you to where you are today. So what was the first job? What was the start of who you are?
Well, I would say I'm always very entrepreneurial. So I actually started a business in college, and it actually turned in, I didn't take a traditional job. I actually started a marketing publishing business out of school. I went to the University of Wisconsin-Madison. And I realized quickly that my strengths were partnership, sales, marketing, business development. And I like doing special promotions and events. So that's when I'm always a pretty gregarious guy who likes connecting with people and nurturing with relationships. So I've always gravitated towards that. So that was my background. And then I worked in a lot of media, and I've sold probably every media you can imagine, whether it be radio, newspaper, direct mail. And then I worked for a Group Lot in the early days when they first started, which was a lot of fun watching a company go, very quickly to 12,000 employees. But being an entrepreneur, I consider myself an entrepreneur, helping other companies grow and trying to look at things from a lot of perspectives. And then I worked with a company called Yaymaker, also known for doing a lot of paint night events. I did a lot of events. And I started working with speakers and celebrities, got the opportunity to interview Mike Tyson, do events with Fran, Drescher, Montel Jordan. And it kind of snowballed where I got the opportunity. I was looking for Hulk Hogan to do actually a speaking event. And then I learned he was launching this beer, and then got the opportunity to help with events and partnership. I had a really good meeting with him and his team. And that's kind of how it snowballed. And I loved his message of bringing people together one beer at a time. So it just kind of, this opportunity presented itself, and I've been off and running since.
Yeah. And it's been fairly recent, but I want to learn about the beer because there is a landscape of beers that have been out for a long time. Then there's the craft beer sector and other beers coming to market. So what makes this beer different and the engagement that you're seeing and how you're promoting it?
Well, it's a combination. It's a premium light beer. It's crisp. It tastes really good. I've had friends, I've had family that have really liked the beer, and people all around. I mean, a lot of people are kind of surprised. Like, wow, this is really good. So we've got a lot of positive feedback from that. So we think we have a good niche in the market with that. And I think Hulk Hogan and the can and the messaging, I think just all kind of resonates. And so, Hulk Hogan's an entrepreneur and obviously quite the marketer and showman. And it's just the attention we're getting from companies and partners. People just want to be part of it. And it's just hard to keep up with the demand.
Amazing. What would you say is the most fun engagement that you've come across in the 3 months that you've been there?
Oh, well, since I started, obviously getting the chance to be with Hulk in person, watching him. There was a bar called Flanagan's in South Florida, in Hollywood, Florida. And we walk in and everybody's chanting Hogan, Hogan. And then they're chanting USA, USA. And it's like people from all different types, all feeling this connection. So there was a few. We went to the MacDill Air Force, and seeing military being so moved and inspired by Hulk was very touching as well. So, but there's been several events. And you know what? For me personally, I feel like everyone has a Hulk story, and everybody, people I meet at events, they just all want to share their story. And it can be somebody at any age. They could, sharing with me that they kind of bring that youthful back to the nostalgia, and they love talking about it. So those are some of my favorite memories or stories just being with the company in a short period of time.
Yeah. Well, I find that fascinating because I'm trying to uncover a lot of people have ideas for brands, but they're entering markets that are already saturated. Maybe they still have celebrity tie-in, but not something as engaging as Hulk Hogan, who is America's hero, is a real American, like somebody that we connect in that way from, when I was younger, he was, already out and doing all the things. And I remember his TV show with his daughters and all of that stuff. So like you said, everybody has a connection point and a story about him. So I'm trying to uncover like how other people listening, if they're going into a market that is somewhat saturated, can find those unique selling points, even if they don't have a Hulk Hogan, like talking about bringing in the memories and creating that feeling. I'm in a very unique, special opportunity. Obviously, having somebody like Hulk Hogan, who for decades has been so popular and so beloved and inspires people. So that's something, but other things I think when it comes to branding and it comes to business and financial, I do find working with, I'll call it a championship team. It might sound cliche, but I work with people who are very motivated, very collaborative. We're all like working together to elevate and we're moving fast, but we're having fun with it. So I think that really helps. And I think that energy of the people you work with can kind of help reinforce that brand. So Hulk Hogan's a brand in himself, but Real American Beer, we're really building that brand. Yeah. And so I think it's all about communication. It's all about passion. It's all about believing in the mission and working with people that you trust, I think is so important. And I think can be underestimated to some degree. Yeah. That's such a great point. Because I love that you're talking about relationship building, finding people who are just as enthusiastic, and team building, trusting each other. How do you find the right people to work with? Because I know that's something that's hard for entrepreneurs when they're starting out. They might trust their best friend who's not a fit, but they're a friend, right? Maybe they're not a friend after they work together. Or they might find somebody who they think has an expertise, but again, there's just not the right, they haven't found out yet that the personality fit's not there.
Yeah. You know what? I'll share. I also had a unique situation. So I used to manage a gentleman named Chad who works and partners with Hulk. And now he's become kind of my mentor. And I've seen him kind of really help grow this brand and this beer. And I see him identifying strengths in people. And again, it's that trust, it's that relationship. And it's really having a good eye for people and talent and establishing a culture quickly like, hey, here's where we are, and here's how we need to support each other. And again, and it's like, we know we're going to move. And if mistakes happen, let's learn from them. Let's not point fingers. I feel like, but I guess to answer your question, it is, throughout your history, I'm sure you've worked with many people, and, these are really talented people in this area, and you kind of got them in your back pocket if you ever have a future project out of work. And again, I've seen Chad do this. Our CEO, Terry, I think is very well-rounded and can identify talent and strengths too. So I think it starts from the top. It starts from the leadership. And as I said, and Hulk Hogan himself, I think just instinctively inspires others to want to all elevate their game. But again, I think seeing the best in people and making sure they're in the roles where they can excel is probably one of the most important skill sets, I'd say, as a leader.
Yeah. Thank you for sharing that. I want to go back a little bit because I'm really intrigued by the fact that you're a talent influencer on Cameo. How did that get started?
So again, I talk a lot about relationships and connections and things like that. Stephen Galanis, who started Cameo, is in Chicago. I'm in Chicago. I've always loved his business. When I was at Group Lot, I got Cameo. I partnered with someone to get Cameo on Group Lot. I invited the CEO, Stephen, to Group Lot when they first started, saying, Group Lot at one point had magic in a bottle. Everyone was talking about it. When Cameo first started, I felt they had that magic in a bottle, and it was just, so I just thought it could be a good partnership. But I stayed in close contact with Stephen and the Cameo team, and I personally have bought many Cameos as well. I like, the idea of celebrity influencers, so it all kind of fits. And then their VP of corporate development, I had coffee with, and because I was getting an influence on LinkedIn, so I have about, 16,000 followers, I thought I had a niche on helping people with their careers. I had my book, Find Your Yay. So, but I love helping people find what is that bullseye for them. And so we thought there's a niche. So I'm not a big Cameo influencer. I've only had a couple people actually pay for me to actually share some tips or ideas or things like that, but I'm on the platform, and I just think it's a very impressive product and service. And, I was just excited to be part of it. But I got to know the CEO and their VP of corporate development. Nice. And then they followed me on LinkedIn.
Well, you're again talking about relationships and building those relationships. And you might not know that you're going to end up working with people, but you stay in touch and you nurture this, and you offer them some value. They offer you some value, and it creates something beautiful because you are a thought leader. You've done it in so many different spaces, whether it's in all these businesses that you've helped grow, whether it is with your book, which I want to talk about also, because I think that is one of the most important things, is finding your yay, as you say, and then your Udemy course. Yeah. And what is the course, or what are the courses that you're teaching? So that's a lot of things in one.
Great. So, yeah. Well, I think I can unpack all that and kind of share my book as well as my courses. They tie in. So I'm very active on LinkedIn. It's helped with me start new relationships, grow relationships, connect with people. Now, being with Real American Beer, now I'm doing more on Facebook and Instagram, but the B2B side, but I noticed when I was posting more content and connecting with more people, it was naturally helping grow a lot of new business. And so I probably helped my previous company, Yaymaker, 6+ new corporate my LinkedIn content. And so I realized the importance of relationships and also trying to be a thought leader, getting yourself out there. So many people are nervous to post on LinkedIn. And I'm a believer that you shouldn't be, and you should share your expertise, thoughts, ideas, connect with people. I think it's very powerful. You got over 1 billion people on it. So I started writing articles and doing more content. And then eventually I thought, boy, I could do a book on this. And it's all about finding your voice and connecting with others and strengthening relationships. And then my courses on Udemy are I have an entrepreneurship course, a persuasive writing, and very soon I have a course that's actually live now, launching on relationship building.
Nice.
In between, you mentioned, I think 135,000 students have gone through the.
Yeah. I'm a professor. I teach grad school at USC, but it's small, right? I have 20 to 30 students at a time, not hundreds. So I love that you're doing this, because I think anything we can do to help other people learn skills that will help them in their next career or just help them in life is so important. The way that I usually look at it is personal branding. So are you showing up in every facet of your life as who you truly are, and making sure that your opportunities that you're receiving are mapping to your values? So I imagine that's a lot of the same thing, because then that makes it a lot easier to say yes or no to these opportunities that might present themselves, and not just go after the shiny new toy that, has nothing to do with your current business or what you actually want to be doing.
Yeah. I mean, you share a lot of things that are fundamental to me. I mean, making yourself professionally visible, I think, is important. And then you mentioned earlier about sharing value or things like that. There's a lot of times opportunities may not work out. I mean, I'm a believer, even if you interview for a job and it doesn't work out, to still stay in close contact with the people you interviewed with, that company or things like that, because you just never know when there could be a new opportunity. And just staying around and keeping that relationship, I think, shows your interest, character, that you're resilient. And again, I encourage people to get a little out of their comfort zone. And if they have an expertise or an interest, share it. And also, I will say the last thing is, not everything, I can't do everything. And we all have our own unique personalities and interests, and to share that. People like connecting with humans. And you talk about branding, people like connecting with people. So I'm a firm believer in be professional, be yourself, and lean into things that may make you a little different.
Yeah, 100%. And so what was your sweet spot on LinkedIn that you found you had a strong voice for? Is it the relationship building? Did you talk about a whole bunch of different things? I know you're an expert in a lot of areas. And then how did you build that audience?
So for most people, I'd recommend sticking 1 to 3 themes at most.
Okay.
I have not taken always my own advice. There's probably 6 or 7 themes that I like talking about. With my previous company, when I was at Yaymaker, I talked a lot, since we did events, I talked a lot about corporate culture and employee engagement, and talked a lot about that. But I do talk a lot about brand building. So I'm still very much into that. Now, with what I'm doing with Real American Beer, I'm looking at other ways of connecting, bringing people together, talking about that, because that's the mission of beer. But also, why to celebrate over beer? With networking, you can network over a beer or reconnect or things. So those are things that I'm thinking about some of my messaging. But recently I've been writing a little less content, not doing as many podcasts as I've really been focusing on events and launching markets and activating new markets so that's what I've been focused on.
Yeah. Will you walk us through that aspect? Because I know that you have to activate, like a lot of times a product will launch in a couple states and then it'll branch out. So will you walk us through that process for those who are listening who might not know what that looks like?
Well, I'll share. I mean, obviously, at Real American Beer, our goal is to be growing to as many states as possible. We're in the early stages, but we're getting so much attention. It's incredible. But typically, I mean, if Hulk Hogan goes into a market, naturally causes attention and press and things like that. But for markets, where maybe if we don't physically have Hulk Hogan, I mean, there are other things that we can activate through any type of sponsorship, other events. We have this Sprinter shuttle that's branded with it. We're always thinking of ways to reinforce the brand. Our goal is to kind of, bring the party to you. So that's kind of what we're doing. So we're kind of staying a little on that theme as well as, just a beer that can bring everyone together. So we're trying to stay on those themes. But I mean, there's so many ways. I mean, working more with influencers. I mean, that is just a strategy that I feel like brands can do to help amplify what your message is and your brand. So I feel like finding those right influencers that are passionate about your brand, have your audience. So those are other things that we're still growing and doing, and it's been a lot of fun.
Nice. And for influencers, are you looking at micro influencers, macro influencers, celebrity influencers? Is there one through line of that you're focusing on more than
all the above? For any of the people watching or things like that, I'll share. There's a macro influencer. I mean, he's got 2+ million followers. This Frankie LaPena. I mean, he uses humor. He's got an incredible following. We did a collaboration recently with Hulk Hogan and Frankie, and we worked with Hooters of America, and just it was a really funny skit or content that just literally got 1 million+ views very quickly. So that's an example of like a macro. Now, there's a woman named Steph Loves Beer. She's a micro influencer, few thousand followers. She had some of our merchandise, a bandana, and she pretended she did a dive out of the pool doing a Hulk Hogan leg drop and then helped promote the beer. And she got a lot of engagement, but she was a local influencer, but with beer. So those are a couple examples that I'd say, but we want to work with anyone that can, actively embody what we're trying to do.
Yeah. I love that you shared 2 very different examples, because I think it's important for people to understand, you need to have the local, the micro, who have great influence over a smaller group of people, but that can expand. And then having the macro, who do have the bigger audience, and you can think on a larger scale, and they're going to reach a lot more people. Some are going to be great customers, some might not be, but you're still getting the attention. Yeah.
Yep.
When it comes to events, obviously we all went through a couple of years of not being able to go out much, depending on what state you were in. And we saw people move to digital events. I think I've seen the trend back towards people want to be together in person. And I'm wondering if you're seeing that. Are you doing any virtual events as well, or is it all live in person?
Well, I'll share this. I mean, again, for my previous company that I was with during the pandemic, we did a lot of, obviously you had to do virtual, and then it really grew back to in-person. That was the overwhelming amount. We obviously doing things in person. It's a stronger connection or things like that. But we do find that, doing pre-recorded messages or virtual, I mean, who doesn't want to do a virtual with their favorite celebrity or things like that? So we're exploring, all options with those. But in general, the in-person are obviously going to create the most excitement. Yeah. But I do think there is plenty of space and opportunities for virtual events or pre-recorded events, because those can be much more easily scaled.
A lot of entrepreneurs, I think we all have a million projects that we want to launch. Entrepreneur. I have my teaching job. I work some with an agency, but I also have my own products and my own coaching that I do. You work with your wife, right? And real estate as well as all of these other places. What does the day-to-day look like for you? How do you manage all of your different projects?
Well, I'll share with you. So my wife was a professor. She got her PhD in psychology, and that was her thing. And then eventually, for several reasons, pivoted and got into real estate. So she goes by Dr. Real Estate. and Berkshire Hathaway through in the Chicagoland area. And I've kept my license, but I try to help her on the marketing ideas or things. Because I naturally have so many connections or so involved in the community, people will come and ask me, but she is the brains and the brawn. But I mean, she really runs the business. I just help her on the side, or maybe occasionally on the weekend, since I've kept the license, I can show a house or things like that, which occasionally I've helped a friend or a colleague or things like that. But I mean, the Rolnick Group is really Sabine Rolnick, Dr. Real Estate. But it's fun to I'm passionate that she's passionate, and I can help her bounce ideas and things like that. So, but especially since I've taken this new opportunity, I've been, really mind focused on Real American Beer, but I'll still help her whenever I can.
Yeah. I love that partnership though. You can see the passion that your partner has, and you're going to do what you can to help.
Yeah, it really, I mean, again, this may sound cliche, but to have a partner who understands you. Yeah. I mean, my wife understands the way I operate, the way I think, my strengths, my weaknesses, and is supportive. She wants me happy. I want her happy. So we've both been good, I'd say, sounding boards and support systems for ourselves. And it makes going through life personally and professionally, much better when you can have somebody that you trust and has your back, and we're there for each other. So,
yeah. Well, kudos to that, because I think you have something special. I have that too, but I think a lot of people go through life not experiencing that level of trust and knowing that somebody else has your back. So just have to give a nod to that. I'm interested to learn. So if, for instance, one of my grad students is trying to start developing their brand, figure out, how they're going to present themselves, do you think LinkedIn is the first place they should go and to start building out content? Even though they might not feel they have a lot of subject matter expertise yet, but they want to be seen, right?
Again, any social media platform, there's a niche. I mean, I have seen professionals work with TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, find that niche. I gravitate towards LinkedIn. I mean, it is a business platform, so especially on the B2B side, and especially whether somebody's trying to grow their own business or they're looking for a job, I think LinkedIn is probably the strongest platform. But so I think that's okay. However, depending on who they are, their audience, I mean, I know people that share business tips on Instagram, as I said, TikTok. I mean, that can really work. So it's hard, I think, to master multiple social media platforms. In general, I feel like people really lean into one. I think, in my opinion, LinkedIn is underrated. As I said, I've grown a lot of partnerships with some big national brands because of my LinkedIn. Now, I like being more of an ambassador with Real American Beer on the Instagram and Facebook. But to answer your question, I would encourage them to really lean into the LinkedIn, unless, again, they're really getting traction and they're seeing it working. But again, each have their own preferences. But again, for me, that's what I recommend.
Yeah, absolutely. What other advice would you give to somebody who's just starting out, who maybe has some skill set like you had, you realized early on you were great at sales, relationship building, creating partnerships and strategy?
Yeah.
What is the first place they should go? Should they think about starting their own business? Should they find a company that will give them room to be an entrepreneur and innovative, and how do you find that kind of company?
So there's a couple things. One, I recommend everybody to find a mentor. You find one or two mentors. I think that can go a long ways. And I think people will underestimate, there's a lot of people that really love to help. I mean, if you're new into the job market or you're a student or whatever, I think reaching out to somebody that you admire and making it personalized to them, it can be a cool message, but you do your research. Hey, I listened to you on this podcast, or I read this about you, or I love what you're doing and I want to grow. Would you be open to once every 2 months having a 25-minute meeting with me? Many would say yes. Even if it's 1 in 10, you reach out to 10, you find one mentor, that's a start. I think being honest with what you're really interested in, I think is really important. I mean, and I know some people, it's like they want to be interested in something, but there's something they gravitate more to. So, I mean, you know what you're really interested in, your strengths. And then I'd say, read more blogs, read more articles, immerse yourself, find out who the leaders are, follow them, and then try to build relationships with them. For me, it's like, I think people on social media, when they post, they want to feel validated. They want to be heard, even if they have millions of followers. If you keep liking and commenting, if you can extend their conversation, I think that is one of the easiest ways to effectively trying to grow a network. Is like, even if it's a CEO or a top influencer, they share something and they share their insight. You do more than just, oh, nice job, nice post, but say, hey, I thought this was interesting. Here's something else to consider, something to extend that conversation. They're going to remember you. And that's a way that I kind of connect with people in unique ways. But I would also say, if you work out once or twice, you're not going to see results amount of time, or I'm going to lift this amount of weight, or I'm going to get this good at an instrument. If you practice a few times a week for months, you're going to see results. In certain ways, I believe you can make goals with that for your own brand or professionally or network. So basically, you might say, I only have 102 LinkedIn connections right now, but my goal is to get up to 400. And it's like, all right, I'm going to do that. And these are the types of people who I want to connect with, and make it a goal and push yourself. I'm going to post once a month, once a week. Give yourself some steps. It can be baby steps, but make some proactive game plan. Write down your goals. We always read or hear that people that write down their goals are more likely to achieve their goals, and manifest it, but take action to get there. And it's, if you think about where you want to be, whether it's 2 years, 5 years, 10 years, 20, it doesn't matter. But like, what if you were your own best friend, what advice would you give? And it's like, hey, take the steps. It's, again, there's things you can control, there's things you can do, and it can help move you in the right direction, or start connecting with people that are going to see your interests, your skills, your thoughts. So that was a long-winded answer, but that would be some of my advice.
Yeah, no, that was great. Thank you so much. Now, going back to beer, what's next for Real American Beer?
Just keep your eyes out. You're going to be seeing us more and more. So we're just excited. Again, our goal is people enjoying the beer, bringing people together, bringing that party to you. So I think what you going to do, brother? I mean, I don't have a great Hulk Hogan voice, but I think you're going to be hearing us. And I think we're rolling out state to state. So
nice. Yeah, I will say that I loved the website, and you could really get a sense of his voice and tone throughout the website. Yeah. So it's fantastic. And it's therealamerican.com. For those of you who are listening, I'm assuming, I'm pretty sure everybody's over 21 who's listening, but just in case, just know. Do you have, Matt, a favorite quote, mantra, verse, words that get you through every day and keep you motivated? Because I can tell you're a high energy person. You're doing all of these different things. You're very highly motivated. But I know we all sometimes need that little thing in the back of our heads.
God, I do love quotes, and, being on the spot or things like that. You hear the quote that you miss the 100% of the opportunities you don't take. Wayne Gretzky shared, don't go where the puck is, but, basically I'm paraphrasing, but anticipate where the puck is going. I feel like, people in their own worlds, professionally and personally, it's like, if you can take a step back and look at where things are going, I think that is strong advice, to always be looking ahead of where things are going and try to anticipate how to get there. So that's why I love what's trending, things like that. But yeah, I don't know. There's lots. I've been inspired by Gandhi and Martin Luther King. After watching Hamilton, I got so inspired, and just, the music, the songs, the words, there's a million things I haven't done. Just you wait. But that I've just, his motivation, he inspired me to write more how prolific of a writer he was. But anyway, those are a couple quotes that just come to mind. Yeah.
Thank you for sharing them. And Matt, is there anything we haven't talked about that I haven't asked you to deep dive into that you'd like to share?
No, I can't think of anything else. You've definitely, asked me about my job, my progression, book, courses, even my wife with the real estate. So I appreciate all that. And again, so my main message is for people to just get out of their comfort zone. Don't be shy to post content. Be a little more assertive to connect. You hear a lot. It's not what you know, it's who you know. And I feel like, it's a balance, but keep pushing yourself a little out of your comfort zone. And again, I'll reinforce, it's nurturing relationships. It's so easy once you take a new role or a new opportunity, or, that it's a new chapter, but you kind of neglect the people that you've worked with or people in your life. I'm still a believer in, again, whether it's once a month or organic reach, just stay in touch with people. Also, you know what? It's really easy to connect with people when things are going really well and celebrate with them. But I think, be very mindful of helping people in their low time. And I feel like people really appreciate it. And that's just something I feel like, besides it's just good karma, It's just, everyone has friends, family, colleagues that have gone through tough times. I think it's important for people to hear that positive word or that support. So I'm a real believer in that. And I believe it can benefit people too by helping others too. So anyway, those are my food for thought. So.
Awesome. Well, I just really appreciate the energy that you bring you brought to this interview, because I can tell that that's how you are. That's how you show up every day for everything you're involved in. And that's what we need more of in the world. So it's been so fun to
I love it.
Unweave some of your journey and learn about how you got from here to there to now Hulk Hogan. So Matt Rolnick, thank you so much for your time today.
Well, I appreciate it. It was a pleasure, and I look forward to staying in touch as well.
Absolutely. Thank you to everybody who's watching or listening to this episode. Don't forget to leave it a rating or review if you haven't. And I'll be back again with another amazing guest to share their expertise in business and their story with you. Thanks for listening or watching to this episode of Your Brand Amplified. Don't forget to leave us a rating or review on your favorite podcast listening platform. And if you want to learn more, check us out at yourbrandamplified.com.